So we should be recording now. Yes. Okay. So for those that were here last week, you will have seen this last week. It does no harm to go over it again. So Turas means a journey, and learning Irish for me is absolutely a journey, and for everybody else, although I was taught Irish from a very young age, it's still a journey for me, and hopefully it'll be a journey for you too. And the metaphor that I like to use is forming paths in the brain. So the more you practice and the more you walk on these paths, the more they become easier to access. So last week we looked a little bit at greetings and small talk. And this week we're going to move on to a daily routine, or how to use your Irish around the house. But before we move on, we want to go back over what we did last week. So if you want to try and cast your mind back all the way back to 7 days ago, this was the thing that we looked at, and it was introducing yourself or saying hello to your friends, small talk, the kind of thing that you would say if you bump into somebody in the street. So if you want to practice out loud saying who you are, to remind you, I would say is mishe kiva, is mishe kiva. And so if you were bumping into your friend, you might say, hi, is mishe kiva, or well, your friend would already know your name. Or if you're making a new friend at Irish class, you would be saying hi or hello, it's mishe kiva. So everybody can try that now, saying hello and saying who you are. And I'm just going to have to trust that you're doing it. Brilliant. I'm sure you're all fantastic. I can tell from lip reading that you're all really, really good. So some of the other ways you might say hello, hi, hello, crackerby, any crack, in scale. And make sure if you're addressing somebody by their name, you use a, which is how you address somebody, and then they aspirate. So kiva becomes a chiva, a chiva. Now there's some letters that aren't aspirated. And if you can remember what they are, can you write in the chat, please? Or you can raise your hand and unmute yourself and tell me what letters you don't aspirate. Oh, Muriel straight in there. My who Muriel. What letters do we not aspirate?
N, L, R.
Well done. And Muriel, how did you remember that?
U Lodge Road.
Yes. Fantastic, my who. So our memory tricks are working. So you can't aspirate NLR. They don't take a H, okay? Fantastic. I'm delighted you remembered that. And we're going to look actually at some more memory tricks tonight to help you with pronunciation, things like that. Okay. So the next thing you might say in the conversation is talking about how you are. And I've put this together for having a quick wee chat. So this builds on what we looked at last week. So we've already seen Gia Ditch and how to say Jas Muraditch, God and Mary be with you. And if you're asking somebody how they are, Kajay Maratatu. So on the next slide, it's going to be a reminder of how to describe how you're feeling. But I want you to try and remember some of the things that we looked at last week. So we saw how to say, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm tired, I'm nervous, and I am motivated. If you can remember even one of those, I'll be delighted, but we're going to look at them in the next slide. So just hold it in your mind there. So when you're wishing goodbye, you'd say slán or slán go fóill, which is bye for now. You might have heard me say that at the end of the lesson last week, slán go fóill. And slán really is just health. You're wishing somebody good health. You're wishing them well. It's the same thing when you're raising your glass and you're saying sláinte. I have to drink now because I said sláinte or it's bad luck. You're drinking to good health. Okay. And I've added a wee one in at the bottom here. It says jas to a agaibh. Jas to a agaibh. And that means nice to see you. Nice to see you. Jas to a agaibh. Let me just quickly check the chat here. Okay. Well done. NLR. All the fantastic answers. Well done. Okay. Sharon was asking, how do you aspirate, Sharon? Sharon, you wouldn't aspirate your name because it already is an SH, so it would stay the same. And no, vowels are not aspirated either. Okay. So hopefully you've remembered one way to describe how you're feeling. For anybody that couldn't quite remember, because I know it's hard to hark back all the way to 7 days ago, especially if you haven't had a chance to look at these since. Asking somebody how they are, Caoimhe tattoo, and then you would answer Tame, and you can either say, well, lots of people say Gaeilge, but I don't like Gaeilge because I just think it's a default answer. So show me a thumbs up if you managed to remember a way to say it. Okay, Shiv. Well done. Okay, I'll quickly run through them for anybody that wanted help with the pronunciation. So tired is Tursach, ta me Tursach. I am tired. Happy, Sasta, ta me Sasta, ta me Sasta. Nervous is Nervishach, ta me Nervishach. I am nervous. Ta me bronach. I am sad. Ta me bronach. Agus ta me spragha. Ta me spragha. Spragha. I am motivated. So hopefully you remembered a couple of those.
How would you spell that, please?
Can you not see them on screen?
No.
If you should be able to see my screen, what I'm sharing. Can nobody see?
I can only see 4 people. I've just doing it on a tablet.
Right, well, Muriel, you should be able to look at a different view. I'm not sure how to talk you through it now. If somebody is able to tell Muriel how she looks at what the screen that I'm looking at. I think there should be a way at the top that rather than you're looking at 4 people's faces, you select a different view. Now,
Muriel, I think if you go to the top right of your screen.
Any joy?
I've got words now on the screen, but I've got no picture. I've got you in the bottom corner. Well, you in the bottom corner, maybe.
Look, don't worry about seeing me. You'll see enough of me over the next few years. As long as you can see those words and you can see how to spell them, that's what's important. Because I kind of am using this instead of having a whiteboard that I would normally use in the classroom. And Muriel, I would hate to think that you couldn't see all the words that I've been using. But what I'm also going to do is I'll send you this clip, the wee video as well, so that you can look at it afterwards for anything you've missed already, okay?
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
No problem. No bother at all. Okay. Right. So, our first kind of spelling lesson, although we're not looking at how to spell specific words, is the rule of nagati. And nagati is your vowels, okay? Your vowels. Nagati. And the most important thing that you can learn about pronunciation in the Irish language is that there's 2 types of vowels. 2 types of vowels. You have Caoimhe vowels, which means slender. Caoimhe, C-A-O-L, Caoimhe. And I and E, I fada and E fada, they're your slender vowels. Caoimhe. Your other vowels, A, O, U, A fada, O fada, and U fada, they're your lahan, nagati lahan, and they are your broad vowels. Broad, lahan, broad, Caoimhe, slender. And if there's one thing that you take from this lesson tonight, I don't care if you forget everything else, please remember to group I and E an I fada and E fada on one side, and A, O and U, A fada, O fada and U fada on the other. Even if you don't remember why, even if you don't remember what the groupings titles are, just remember that clear divide. I want you to take a screenshot in your mind of I and E on one side and A, O and U on the other, as clear as day. Imagine the earth cracking between them. Now, if that doesn't create a memory in your mind, I don't know what will. So, when you come across different letters that are said in different ways, for example, when we looked at Gaeilge, there's two different types of D there. We've come across two different types of S's as well already. This is why. Depending on whether they are beside a slender or a broad vowel, it will affect how those letters are said. Okay? These also affect whether words can be masculine or feminine, and these also can affect the endings of words whenever you're changing the tenses. So even at a beginner level, it's important, at an intermediate level, and when you're looking at, you know, Gaeilge and A-level standard of Irish, this rule still is important to learn. Okay. The group of letters that are affected by these are D, N, T, L, S, dentals. So like you remembered NLR for the letters that can't be aspirated, or the consonants that can't be aspirated, NLR. And now I want you to remember dentals and associate dentals with the divide of Caoimhe and Lahan. And what I'm going to hopefully demonstrate for you now is the way that it affects these letters. So I will show you how Caoimhe vowels affect D and how Lahan vowels affect D, and the same for N, T, L and S. Okay, this is going to be a listening exercise. So I would encourage you to listen. I'm going to go over it multiple times. And then for your homework, you're going to have to practice it, but we'll come to that later. Okay, so the first word is D-I-A, which is Gia, Gia, D-I-A, Gia, Gia. So that D is like a J, 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 Gia. So if it's followed by I or E, it's like a J, 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 Gia. However, if the D is followed by a gutty Lahan or a broad vowel, it's a hard D. Ditch, ditch, ditch. And there's no clearer example of that than the phrase Gia ditch, Gia ditch. Two different Ds because of what they're followed by. Hopefully you begin to now recognize that pattern. If it's followed by the slender, the Caoimhe, it tends to soften the letter. If it's followed by one of the broad vowels, Nagati Lahan, it tends to harden the letter. It's going to be the harder sound. So let's look at the other four and see if you can hear the difference. So N followed by the Gutty Caoimhe, Nyask, 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 like an NY, or the Spanish N with the wee wiggle over the top of it. I forget what it's called. My Spanish teacher is shouting at me somewhere. Nyask. So it's a soft N, Nyask. A Nyask means a link or a connect. And the hard N followed by O fada or Gutty Lahan is nos, 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 nos. Nyask and nos. Again, guys, I don't expect anybody to learn this off by heart in one evening. I don't expect you to even know it probably by the end of this first term. But what I do want you to do is to begin to recognize why. So when you're coming across these words or you hear me say something a certain way, you're going, oh, that's not how I thought that was said. Oh, okay, now I can see there's an E after that, and that's why it's a soft T, not a hard T. For example, in the next one, the word for house is chach. Chach. T-E-A-C-H. Chach. Like the cha-cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha. So T-E, chach. And again, on the broad one, lahan, it's the hard T of two, meaning you. And we've come across that in kajay mar ata, two. Chach and two. The next one is one that I know English speakers or people that only speak English struggle to get their mouth around the L sound, the keel sound with the L, and it's like an L-Y, or again like the double L in Spanish. So the word that we're looking for here, L-I-O-M, is yum. Yum. And you're pushing the front of the tongue in behind your teeth. Yum. Yum. And it's training, it's the tongue is a muscle, it's training the muscle to go from an L to a Y. Yum. And you're going to need that one because that means with me, and it's one of the prepositional pronouns that you use a lot. So for example, yum with me, yat with you, lesh, ye. So it's a common sound. Yum with me. And the hard L, lacha, lacha, lacha. And that's a duck. Lacha. Which I think is a bit of an onomatopoeia. It sounds a bit like a duck. Lacha. People are looking at me going, what sort of ducks do they have where you were raised? Yum and lacha. Okay, and the final one is the S. D-N-T-L-S. So how is the S affected? So nagati keel, S-I fada is she. 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 And the gati lahan is a hard S. Suis. Suis. Suis means up. Suis. And she means she or her. She and suis. Yes, Laura, you're asking in the chat, how do you pronounce I'm grand? Is that from whenever I said earlier, my galore? My galore. So it's like the English phrase galore, only it's like, it's that L-E sound that we've just covered. So it's like the L-Y, my galore. Sharon, do pronounce it Kajay Mara 2 instead of Kajay Mara Ata 2. Remember Kajay Mara 2. No, I think that's somebody taking the mic. The Ata is the verb to be, so you definitely need it because you're asking somebody how they exist, how they be in that moment. But you do get the tattoo. People take the mic with Desmond Tutu and all that sort of stuff. So. It could be said that slender vowels are pronounced easier and there's more harder pronunciation for the slender. I know exactly what you mean, Ryan. The broad vowels A, O and U, they would follow our English understanding of the alphabet, whereas the slender ones, the ones that follow I and E, follow the consonant, they soften them. However, English is a language that's made up of so many other different languages, you'd be able to come across loads of examples in English when you think about it, where the opposite applies. I'm not going to start now, but you'll start to notice them yourself, except for the L, the yeah one. That's not one you come across very frequently. But that is a good question. There's 2 people in the waiting room. Let me just admit everybody. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some sort of a help whenever you're reading or you're listening to me say some sort of things and you're wondering, why was that a ly sound, or why was that a ch sound. We're going to go back over it, but your homework will be to practice that. So I'm going to give you a wee activity at the end of the lesson to practice that. How are we for time? Because I don't have okay, past. I'll stop waffling. Okay. So now that we've done a wee bit of pronunciation, and that can be quite heavy sometimes because you're actually relearning alphabetical sounds and you're learning the combinations of letters can mean completely different sounds. So don't be surprised if you need a wee 30 seconds here. So if you need to clear your brain, or as I would do in class, I would physically wipe the board clean now. And even though that just seems like a physical task, it mentally moves you on from what you were previously doing on to the next thing. So if you can in your mind, wipe the slate clean. And we're now going to look at some vocabulary around the house in the hope that you can use this language from the moment you open your eyes until the moment you go to sleep. It's how I gain control whenever I can't teach you on the days you're not here. So might be good if you have a pen or something to take notes, because I'm going to throw some vocabulary at you, and then hopefully you can use this vocabulary to form sentences in your daily life. Okay. So hopefully you live in either a teach, which is a word we've already come across, teach, meaning house, or maybe you live in an arasan, which is a flat or an apartment. Teach or arasan. And I'm going to focus on 4 rooms of the home that you hopefully would spend the majority of your time in. Now, when I'm normally doing this lesson with the beginner class, we actually look at all 11 different rooms that could be in a home, like the attic, or if you have a basement or a porch. However, I think that online it can be a struggle to cover as much vocabulary, so I'm going to keep it simple, and we're going to focus on the 4 rooms of the house where you're spending a lot of your time. You might have an open plan flat, but hopefully you've got all these amenities. So your bathroom is a seomra folca. Seomra folca. Seomra folca. And for anybody that studied French, they might recognize the word chambre to be very like the French word for room, which is chambre. So chambre folca is your bathroom. Chambre llapa. So look, there's that LE. So we know there's a got to kill, right? We've come across that. So we know that's like the yeah. Chambre llapa, which is the room of the bed. Your kitchen. You guessed right, that's your kitchen. And notice it's not kistin, it's kitchen, because the T is followed by an I. And the last one are chambre C, which is our room of sitting. Chambre C. And even look at that The first S, Shomra, because it's followed by an E. And the second S, C, because it's followed by a U. Shomra C. It's like a secret code, so hopefully now that's like a bit of a padlock that I've unlocked for you, and you begin to see, okay, there's a pattern to this madness. We can unlock it. So once more, Shamra Folka, Shamra Yapa, Kishtin, Shamra C. Okay, and now what we're going to do is look at 5 items that you would find in each one of these rooms. So what my hope is that when you walk into each one of these rooms, you start to see the things in them, and hopefully some Irish terminology comes to mind, or you start to think, what is the Irish for that? What was Akiva was saying on Monday night? So sa shomra folka, sa means in. Sa shomra folka, in the bathroom. Ta. Sa shomra folka ta, in the bathroom is. Or you might just make it really, really simple and say shaw, shaw, S-A-O, shaw. This is how you introduce somebody or something. Shaw ishke, shaw kiva. Or if you're looking at the bath, you would say shaw folkadan, folkadan. That's your bath. Shaw folkadan. Here is a bath. Dortchill. Dortchill is the sink. And dorch is the word for to spill. So dortchill, the place where you would spill things out. And we know why that's a T in the middle of that word already. Dortchill. A mirror is a scahan. Scahan. And your scach is a shadow. So there isn't that distinction between shadow and reflection. For example, the word for an umbrella is ska farhinje, or a rain shadow. How to say a shower, or as in Belfast people say shower, is a keich ulkadan. Keich ulkadan. But nobody says that full word, they just say keich. C-I-T-H. So if you wanted to say, here's a shower, shaw keich. And for anybody that likes to do some independent research, I want you to find out for me what the Irish for towel or towels are. And if you can find out for me, post it into our WhatsApp group or email it to me, or get ready to tell us next week. So that's anybody that wants to go and find out what are the Irish for towels. So to cover these one more time, bath is folkadan. Shaw folkadan, Shaw dorchil, Shaw scahan, Shaw keich. Sa shomra folka ta folkadan agus dorchil. In the bathroom is a bath and a sink. Okay. Hopefully as you're going, you're starting to think about your bathroom now and start to assign the Irish items those words, if that makes sense. When I was growing up, my mum would stick the Irish for everything physically, you know, with one of those old dino label makers. And it really, really helped me. Now, you might get in trouble with whoever's in charge of decor in your house. So if you can mentally assign labels to things, that would be great. Okay, before I move on, let me just check for any questions. Oh, yes, they're flat out in the chat. It's great to see. Yeah, so anybody that wants to be added to the WhatsApp group, if you can email me or Laura or Laurel, sorry, Laurel. If you could, I'll just type my email in now. Email us your mobile number that you would like to be added to, and we'll get you added into the WhatsApp group. So it was created earlier on today, so you haven't missed too much. Caoimhe.o. Stuart, I added you into the WhatsApp today. Did you get if you didn't get a notification, double check for me, and then I'll try and add you, but I definitely added you in today because I saved your number and all. I remember doing it, but so double check if you're in the WhatsApp group, and if not, I'll try again in the morning. Okay. So, sa siomra liapa ta in the bedroom is sa siomra liapa ta. That's how you could form a sentence, or you might just want to say sho. Here is sho liaba, and that's bed. And if you're wondering, Kiva, why is it siomra liapa for bedroom, but you're only after telling me that the Irish for bed is siomra liaba? One's a P and one's a B. And the reason for that is that it's siomra liapa is the room of the bed, which means it's genitive. And in the genitive case, words change. That's all you need to know. You don't need to learn anything else about it. Just know that in the genitive case, so when you're saying of the, so room of the bed or room of the bath, the genitive is often used. Pillow is pillier. Window is fuinneog. And I want you to take a mental picture of the word fuinneog in your mind, because we're going to come back to the word fuinneog next week when we look at some more rules around céal and leathan, the gutty céal agus na gutty leathan, our broad and slender vowels. But fuinneog's a fine example of the rule that we're going to learn next week. Fuinneog, window. Picture, go Maleshko, picture is picture. And duvet is duvet. So duvet is one of those words that's been stolen from English. V doesn't technically exist in the Irish language, in the Irish alphabet. We'll look at the full alphabet next week. But duvet is one of those words that it's stolen from English, but it's not really stolen from English because it's the English language stole it from French. So it's just one of those words that hops on through and you just spell it whatever way you need to. So think about your bedroom now. If you were to describe 3 things in it: sa siomra liapa ta liaba, pillier agus fuinneog. So for anybody unsure, agus means and it's a perfect way to tie your sentences together. It's great to see everybody's face practicing away. Okay. And yes, I am just pure nosy at all your faces to see who's here and who isn't. Okay, happy days. Gallant, I tell you what, yous are the best looking class I've ever had, that's for sure. My goodness me. Linda must only let models sign up. All right, so our next room that we're going to look at, my favorite room, kitchen. So sa kitchen. And your fridge, the most important item in the whole house, is a cúisneoir. So look, that N is followed by an E, so it's nye, Cúisneoir. Cúisneoir. Your kettle is the kitchell. 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 Cupboards or your press are cofra. 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 And as well as having a sink in the bathroom, you should have a sink in the kitchen. So once again, there's a dorchel. 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 And the last one is sorn. 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 Shaw and Cúisneoir. Shaw kitchell. Shaw cofra. Shaw dorchel. Shaw sorn. That's what my partner, he takes me into the kitchen and he introduces me and he says, Shaw sorn. Have you ever seen this before? Shaw sorn. This is a cooker. No, I'm joking. I'm an excellent cook. Is cofra a dresser? Yes, it could be used for dresser. It's a cupboard. Cofra is a cupboard. So like many things in Irish, it's dependent on the situation and the context it's being used in. So for example, in the classroom, the cofra is going to be the cupboard where your books are kept. If it's in the kitchen, it's going to be your press, probably where the nice china is. Your granny might keep the nice china. Or, you know, if it's in the bedroom, it's a wardrobe. But there are other words for those things too, but they're interchangeable. But that's a good question, Sharon. Or was it no, Karen asked, sorry. Sorn is the word for cooker rather than oven, yes. But again, interchangeable, but sorn would be cooker. Okay. So finally, the last one, the last bit of vocab that we're going to look at this evening is an chambre C, or the room of sitting. And I've included, oh, there's two missing on this one. I didn't mean to leave two off, only meant to leave one off, but there's extra for you to do here. So chambre C, the room of sitting. This is one of my favorite words, is chinchan. Chinchan. And chinchan is your fireside or your hearth. But it occurs in many Irish proverbs. It's seen as the centre of the family, the heart of the home, where the storytelling happened, where you grieved, where you celebrated. Everything happened around the chinchan. And it breaks my heart not to have a real fire. It's one thing I'd like to have in my home. But remember that word, it comes up quite a lot in the arts in Irish. Your sofa is a tullag. Tullag. And there's actually two syllables there. You have what's called an invisible vowel in there. So on the opposite of a silent letter, a letter that you see but you don't hear. In tullag, there's a letter that you hear but you don't see. Tullig. Tullig. And you come across that quite a lot in Irish. The Irish for blue, G-O-R-M, is gorrim. The Irish for on me, O-R-M, is or-rim. There's these invisible vowels. And I am convinced to my core that it's why, as a nation, we say the word film, F-I-L-M, film. Don't do that anywhere else. Say film. And we all say film. As I was mercilessly had the mick taken out of me at university in London for wanting to watch a film. So tullag is one of those words. And your TV is telefish. Telefish. Now a rug is just a rugga. I didn't mean to leave rugga off there. R-U-G-A, rugga. And for anybody that wants to go and do a wee bit of independent research, I want you to tell me what the Irish for toys are. So if you have kids or grandkids or nieces or nephews or brothers and sisters in the house, there might be some toys in your Seomra C. So I want you to tell me either in the WhatsApp or on email or next week what the Irish for toys are. So hopefully you've picked up a couple of phrases there, or even a couple of words. If you're able to walk into a room and point to something and use the Irish for it, even one time between now and next week, I am overjoyed with that. And hopefully that's given you the vocabulary that you're able to do that. But here's the most basic sentence structure that you could use when doing that. Walking into a room, picking something up or pointing to it and saying "Shaw" and then naming the item. For example, "Shaw Dorchel," here's a sink. "Shaw Laba," here's a bed. "Shaw Rugga," here's a rug. "Shaw Kushnor," here's the fridge. And if you're anything like me, you'll be saying "Shaw Kushnor" 25 times a day when you're working from home. So I know that you're all going to do that for me and practice that between now and next week. And oh, hang on, my chat's going here. It's so popular. Do you always use "sa" at the start of these sentences and "ta" at the end, if not using "shaw"? No, "ta" is the verb to be, the current, the present tense verb to be. So "ta me," I am. "Sa" means in. So for example, if you wanted to say the sink is in the kitchen, "Ta dorchel sa kitchen." "Ta dorchel sa kitchen." There is a sink in the kitchen. "Ta dorchel sa kitchen." Or if you just want to say "Shaw dorchel," here is a sink. I want you to challenge yourself. So if "shaw" is where your level is at, then that's what you do. If you think that you can go in and start to form sentences about your house, then brilliant. And don't be afraid to ask me, how do I say "where is the thing" or "is the something"? You know, question forms are good too, but we'll come to them in a couple of weeks. Can you spell rug in Irish? It's just rug with "a" at the end. R-U-G-A, rugga. If anyone does Duolingo, one of the common phrases it offers is "the woman is in the fridge." Duolingo must be based on people working from home. I'm never out of the fridge. Okay. Okay, so here on your screen now you should be able to see "ober bhaile" in pink, which means homework. Ober is work and bhaile is home or town. So anywhere that's bally something, it comes from bhaile. Again, that's one that we're going to look at in a couple of weeks. So ober bhaile is homework. And your homework is to find 10 words in total, but 5 words that begin with D-N-T-L-S, so our dentals, that are followed by a gota kale, so a slender vowel. So words beginning with D-I or D-E, words beginning with N-I or N-E. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? So for example, I would want you to find one of each. So if you were cheating and you were going to use the words that I showed you tonight, your 5 kale would be Gia, Nyask, Chach, Yum, and She. And then your 5 for Yahan would be Ditch, Nos, to lacha, and suas.
Kiva, would you mind repeating all that? I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I had to join late because my dog took sick and I had to take him to the vet. So I've only just joined you about 5-10 minutes ago.
No problem.
So,
Joyce, I think what would be best is if I send you the recording of tonight's lesson, because I spent the first kind of 15 minutes on this kind of spelling and pronunciation activity.
oh, that's okay. It was
Unless you watch that and kind of understand the explanation, it'll be hard for you to do the homework. So what I'll do, Joyce, is send you the link tomorrow morning when I get into the office, and then watch back what we covered, and then you can follow along with this bit, which is going to be even weird because you'll be watching back what I'm saying to you now.
okay.
No problem.
Kiva, can you send me that as well?
Yes, anybody that wants the video sent, just email me or Laurel, and we can send the link. And I have last week's as well.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So just to reiterate, because I don't know if I explained that very well, my teacher is coming out in me now where I want to make sure I've explained this homework very well. So you need to find 10 words, okay? 2 beginning with D, 2 beginning with N, 2 beginning with T, 2 beginning with L, 2 beginning with S, dentals. 1 will be followed by a keel, slender vowel, and 1 will be followed by llahan, a broad vowel. If you're completely confused, don't worry, but hopefully I've explained that well. It's a sign of a bad teacher if they can't explain what they mean very well, so it's my fault.
Kiva, can you send the PowerPoint, the presentation, or can you only just send the recording?
Yes, I can send the presentation. It's not even a PowerPoint. You know what it is? It's a video. It's a minute. It's like a minute 30 video, and each slide is 5 seconds. It allows me to kind of slide forward and back quite smoothly. So it is a bit of a larger file size, but I'm happy to do that as well. No bother. So if you want just the slides and then not me talking through them, it's just the pictures, then ask me for that as well. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So our final slide of the evening is a video saying "Moi Chev, well done," and a round of applause. So hopefully you can see that, because last week the gift didn't work. Okay, so we've got 5 minutes left. So I managed to kind of cover a lot of questions there as I was going along. So hopefully it's okay that we've only got 5 minutes of questions. Let me just quickly check the chat here. How sexist men are in the fridge too. Yes, sorry lads, you be in the fridge flat out. Can they be object words as well, like the words you went through in the different rooms? Yes, Emily, I know what you mean, and the answer is yes. As long as they're looking in the fridge and they're not actually in the fridge. Well, it is a very big fridge, haha. Okay, plenty of fridge chat, grand. All right. Anybody got any questions? You can take yourself off mute now, go on ahead, or if there's anything you want me to go back over or pronounce. No? Okay. Then I'm going to do an absolutely shameless plug for a book that I'm reading this week, okay? If anybody can get their hands on this book, if you're able to see it, it's called 32 Words for Field, okay? And my mum got it for me about a fortnight ago for my birthday, but I only got round to reading it over the weekend, and it's one of those ones where every chapter you just want to go back to the start and read it again. Now, from what I understand, people are having difficulty getting it. My recommendation is to try and look at the Waterstones and stuff down south. It seems to be available in the Republic a bit more than up here. If you can't get a hold of it, I'm happy to lend my copy out, but wait until I've finished reading it. It is a wonderful book about how the intricacies of the Irish language is connected to the fields around us, the trees, nature, and absolutely everything that we see. So, like the opening couple of lines is him talking about learning Irish from his grandmother, and he asks his granny, Granny, what's the Irish for field? And she says, well, it depends what kind of field. Is it a field dug by an animal, or is it is it a hole? What's the Irish for hole? Is it a hole dug by an animal, or is it the kind of hole left by a worm after the tide's gone out, or is it a hole that occurs naturally in the sand and he suddenly begins to realise there's one word in English for hole, but there's 32 different words for hole in Irish, because it's all dependent on how the hole was created or what the hole looks like from the standing point that you are. And it's a fascinating book written in English with Irish sprinkled through it, and it's the best book I've picked up in a long time. So no, I'm not getting any commission for it.
Eva, I read an article about that book in the Irish Times a couple of weeks ago. There was an article about it. It says 32 words for field by Mankin Magan. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Mankin Magan, yeah, that's how I would say it.
Mankin Magan. And it says there are 50 words for penis.
I haven't gotten to that chapter yet.
That's what it says in the article. But yeah, he's a really interesting person, isn't he?
Very interesting. Family history and everything.
He doesn't put. Does he put the 32 words in the book?
Yeah, that's what the first chapter
For
goes
field.
through.
Right. No, it looks fantastic. Yeah.
It really is. But hopefully I'm going to try and incorporate some of the stuff into the lessons, because I'm learning so much. And it goes to show you, when I'm talking about Irish learning being a journey and a tourist, you know, as I said, I've been speaking Irish for 30 odd years. And on yesterday, I had an hour in the sun to read the first 2 chapters, and I learned 31 words for a field yesterday. Do you know what I mean? So I also learned 15 new words for a rock, depending on, do you know what and I also find out that when you're talking about traveling in Irish, it's always directional from your home, not about, you know, so if you're going into town, you don't just say you're going into town, you're saying you're traveling eastwards, or whether you're traveling westwards, depending on where town is from your home. Now, I instinctively describe me traveling like that when I'm speaking Irish, but I'd never realized it was because of your position in the universe. So it's very interesting. All right, I'll shut up about this book. But if you can get your hands on it, please do. If not, we'll have to do a book club and pass it round over the next couple of months.
It seems sorry.
Go on, Caris, I think you had a question there.
I just wanted to ask, does my name get the H added to it? Say Caris or Harris, because
No.
mine's obviously silent.
Yeah, the same with Sharon. If it's a consonant followed by H, your name just stays the same. There are some names
Okay,
that just don't.
silent, yeah.
Yeah. For example, you know, a lot of the names would have been saint names. So even if you had a Michael, you know, it becomes a Michal in Irish, and you know, or some people know instinctively that Joseph is Chaucer. But there are some names like Caris, for example, that there just would not be an Irish translation for your name. And I think that you do get some, let's call them pedants, that will try and produce your name in Irish and blah, blah, blah. And I just think, right, you know, you can just leave some things as they are. Do you know what I mean? But you know
Apparently
what?
it's Grania.
To you, it's your...
Apparently it's Grania in Irish.
Say that again?
Apparently it's Grania in Irish.
Look,
Grania's great.
Grace, as far as I was concerned,
Yeah.
Grania was Grace, but look,
Yeah, and Caris is Grace in Greek.
that's what I was about to say. I was going to say that seems to be a Greek connection. So if it's connected to the Greek word, then fine. So in that case, I would say to you, Caris, that's your own personal choice. If you like Grania, then use Grania. But I'll call you Scooby-Doo if you want me to. Right.
That's very right.
Emily in Irish. Emily, I'm not too sure. These are the type of things that I will allow you to Google. There are message boards and discussion forums that the length of your arm. if you want to find out. I don't want to guess because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. But my Emily, I would guess, would probably be spelt an Irish way. You would keep the same pronunciation and be spelt an Irish way, unless it's connected to the word Emma, in which case there could be. So I would say ask Google, but don't ask Google for any language stuff, only for what the Irish for certain names are, and still double check it with somebody that knows better. Slán Gaeilge, okay, anybody leaving, that's grand. So look, if there's no more questions or anything else, Slán go foil. If you can find out some of the upper bottle, some of the homework that I left you, like what's the Irish for toys, and what was the other one, what's the Irish for towels? Toys and towels, if you can find that out for me. And if you can find 5 words with the gutty keel, dentals, and 5 words with the gutty lahan, dentals. I know that sounds like double Dutch, but if you've been following along, it would hopefully make sense. Come here, lads, you're amazing. Moishev, well done. Slán go foil. And again, hit me up in email if you want added to the WhatsApp group. And hopefully that WhatsApp group, we start chatting away in and doing each other's heads in. And if it's too much for you, you can mute it. Okay. Scooby-Doo.
Okay, slán. Slán.
Slán, slán, slán.
Slán Gaeilge.